should have known. Something was wrong the moment my mother sounded too calm on the phone. "Sweetheart," she said, using that soft voice she only used when she wanted something. "We're having a small family meeting this Sunday. Nothing serious, just talking." Talking. In my family, talking never meant talking. It meant pressure, guilt, ambush. I was standing in my kitchen in Austin, staring at the sunlight bouncing off the marble counter of the house my grandmother left me, the inheritance everyone suddenly cared about once she was gone. "What's it about?" I asked. "Oh, you know," she replied lightly. "Family stuff. Your uncle will be there, your brother too." Every alarm bell in my body went off. "Mom," I said slowly, "if this is about Grandma's estate again, I've already said no." A pause, just a fraction too long. "It's not about that," she said quickly. "I promise." She was lying. My mother had always been a bad liar. She over-explained when nervous, rushed her words when cornered. Still, part of me wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that, just once, my family could sit in a room without trying to take something from me. So I said yes. The inheritance that changed everything. My grandmother, Eleanor Brooks, wasn't just rich. She was sharp, ruthlessly observant. She saw through everyone in the family, including my mother. I was the only grandchild who visited her when she wasn't sick. The only one who listened instead of waiting for her to stop talking. The only one who didn't ask for money. When she passed, the will shocked everyone. She left the lake house, her investment accounts, and a substantial cash inheritance, all to me. Not my mother. Not my uncle. Not my golden child brother. Me. That was when the phone calls started. The guilt speeches. The family should share lectures. The accusations that I'd manipulated an old woman. I refused every time. Because Grandma knew exactly what she was doing. Sunday comes too quickly. The house was my parents', old colonial in suburban Dallas, the same one where I grew up learning that love was conditional and approval was currency. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed extra cars. My uncle's truck. My brother's SUV. Even my Aunt Linda's sedan. So much for small. I sat in my car for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, heart pounding. "You can leave," I whispered to myself. But I didn't. I walked inside. The smell of pot roast hit me immediately, my mother's favorite peace offering. She only cooked it when she wanted everyone docile. The living room was already full. My Uncle Mark sat stiffly on the couch, arms crossed. My brother Jason leaned against the wall, scrolling on his phone like he didn't care. Classic Jason. Aunt Linda perched in an armchair, lips pursed. And my mother stood in the center, smiling too wide. "There she is," she said. "Everyone's here now." That's when I realized. This wasn't a meeting. It was a trial. The first push. We sat. No one spoke for a moment. Then my mother clasped her hands together. "Sweetheart," she began, "we just want to clear the air." I didn't respond. She turned to the others. "We're all family here," she said. "We should be honest." That was my cue. "So just say it," I said calmly. "What do you want?" My uncle cleared his throat. "Well," he said, avoiding my eyes, "it's about your grandmother's assets." There it was. I stood up. "No," I said firmly. "I told you all this isn't up for discussion." Jason finally looked up from his phone. "God, you're so dramatic," he scoffed. "Nobody's trying to steal anything." I laughed, short and bitter. "That's exactly what you're doing." My mother's smile faltered. "Please sit down," she said. "At least hear us out." Against my better judgment, I did. That was my second mistake. The guilt strategy. Aunt Linda leaned forward. "Your grandmother wouldn't have wanted this kind of division," she said softly. I met her gaze. She wouldn't have wanted her wishes ignored either. My uncle chimed in. "You're young," he said. "That kind of money can be overwhelming." Translation: you don't deserve it. My mother sighed dramatically. Your brother has kids, she added. You don't. There it was. The old favorite. Jason smirked. So you're just going to sit in a huge house alone while my kids struggle. I clenched my fists. Your kids aren't struggling, I snapped. You just bought a new boat. That's different, he shot back. Of course it was. The cornering begins. The room slowly closed in. Every sentence became sharper. You owe this family. She wasn't in her right mind. We could contest the will. That last one made my blood run cold. My mother said it quietly, like a threat wrapped in velvet. We don't want lawyers involved, she said, but if you force us. I stood up again. So this was the plan, I said. Trick me into coming here so you could gang up on me. My mother's eyes hardened. Don't be selfish, she snapped. Think about someone other than yourself for once. I stared at her. For the first time in my life, I saw her clearly. Not as my mother, but as someone who saw me as an obstacle. What they didn't know. They thought I was cornered. They thought I was alone. They thought I'd fold like I always had. What they didn't know was that my grandmother had prepared me for this exact moment. And she'd left me more than money. She left me proof. And a plan. The room was silent after my mother's last words. Don't be selfish. I looked around at the faces staring back at me. Faces I had spent my entire life trying to please. And in that moment, something inside me finally snapped. I reached into my purse. My mother noticed immediately. What are you doing? She asked sharp. I pulled out a thick manila envelope, yellowed slightly at the edges. This, I said calmly, is what Grandma told me to open the day someone tried to pressure me about her inheritance. The color drained from my uncle's face. Jason laughed nervously. You're bluffing. I slid the envelope onto the coffee table. I'm really not. Grandma was always one step ahead. I opened the envelope slowly. Inside were copies of legal documents, handwritten letters, and a USB drive. My mother stood up abruptly. What is that? She demanded. A contingency, I replied. I picked up the first letter. Grandma wrote this 2 years before she passed, I said. She suspected this exact scenario. I read aloud. If they ever try to guilt you, threaten you, or corner you, know that I saw it coming. I chose you because you're the only one who never tried to take from me. My throat tightened, but I continued. They will say I was confused. They will say you owe them. They will lie. My uncle swallowed hard. I held up the next document. This, I said, is a notarized mental competency evaluation from the same month she wrote the will. My mother froze. She was of perfectly sound mind, I continued, and her lawyer documented everything. Jason shifted uncomfortably. The threat that backfired. My uncle finally spoke. We can still contest it, he muttered. I smiled. You could, I said, but then this becomes public. I plugged the USB into my phone and turned the screen toward them. Audio files. Recordings. Grandma's voice filled the room, strong, clear, unmistakable. My daughter keeps asking me to be fair. My son hints that I owe him. If you're hearing this, they've done exactly what I warned you about. My mother let out a strangled sound. Turn that off, she whispered. No, I said. You wanted honesty, remember. The next recording played. If they challenge this will, I want my lawyer to release everything, including the financial help I gave them and how they spent it. Jason's face went pale. Dad, he whispered to my uncle, you said she wouldn't. My uncle slammed his fist on the armrest. She manipulated you, he shouted at me. No, I replied evenly. She exposed you. The final blow. I stood. Hear how this ends, I said calmly. You walk away, You never contact me about the inheritance again, and we pretend this meeting never happened." My mother's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of losing control. "You do this to your own family," she hissed. I met her gaze. "You did this to me first." Silence. Then Aunt Linda quietly stood up, grabbed her purse, and left without a word. My uncle followed. Jason hesitated. "You're really going to cut us off?" he asked. I looked at him, really looked at him. "I already have," I said. He left. Only my mother remained. A mother's last attempt. She stepped closer. "I raised you," she said softly. "I sacrificed for you." I nodded. "And I spent my whole life trying to earn love that should have been free." Her lips trembled. "You're making a mistake." I picked up my purse. "No," I said, "I'm ending one." I walked out. 6 months later. The lake house is quiet in the mornings. I sit on the porch with coffee, watching the water ripple in the sunlight. I haven't heard from my family since that day. They never contested the will. They never tried again. Because they knew they'd lose more than money. I used part of the inheritance to start my own business, something Grandma always encouraged me to do. I framed her letter and hung it in my office. The last line reads, "Never apologize for protecting what I gave you." Final reflection. They thought they trapped me. They thought guilt would work. They thought blood gave them ownership. But inheritance isn't just about money. It's about who someone trusts to carry their legacy. And Grandma chose right. The end.